The biggest performance of my life started with applause and ended in shock. When my brother projected a secret on-screen, one I never wanted the entire audience to find out about. They sold my piano, without even asking me. I came home from school one afternoon and it was just gone. The space in the corner of the living room where it had always stood, where I had sat and practiced every day for 11 years, was completely empty. The only thing left was a smudge on the wall where the sheet music stand used to lean. I stood there, backpack still slung over one shoulder, staring at the hollow spot like it had been ripped out of my chest. I thought maybe it had been moved for cleaning or maintenance, even though no one had ever cleaned anything in that house unless it was Josh's room. "Mom?" I called, trying to keep my voice from shaking. "Where's my piano?" She barely looked up from her phone. "We sold it." Just like that. Like she was saying she threw out some old shoes. I felt my throat close. "You what?" Dad walked in from the kitchen with a bag of groceries and said, Josh needed a better guitar for the conservatory, and the piano was taking up space. I could barely breathe. That piano had been mine since I was 5. It was a little scratched up, sure, and one of the foot pedals squeaked, but it was mine. I had poured every ounce of my childhood into that instrument, practicing scales until my fingers ached, teaching myself to read sheet music off YouTube tutorials, sneaking into the living room late at night to compose my own pieces. It wasn't just wood and keys. It was the only thing that ever made me feel like I mattered. "But you didn't even tell me," I whispered. "You just sold it?" Josh strolled in right then, practically glowing, holding a brand new electric guitar. "It's not like you were gonna go pro, Rena," he said with a shrug. "You don't even take lessons." I almost laughed. Of course I didn't take lessons, because they wouldn't pay for them. Every dollar went to Josh's music career, his guitar lessons, his summer camps, his recording equipment, his dream. He wasn't even that good. I turned to my mom, hoping, begging for some kind of apology. A flinch. Something. But all she said was, "Rena, stop being dramatic. It's just an old piano. Be supportive of your brother for once." And that's when it happened. The snap. I don't know what came over me. I started yelling, not screaming, yelling. Years of being overlooked, ignored, treated like an afterthought came pouring out all at once. I told them how it felt to watch Josh get everything handed to him while I had to fight for scraps. How I had taught myself to play because they wouldn't pay for lessons. How I had been accepted into the regional youth orchestra, without them even noticing, because I knew they wouldn't come anyway. My dad's face went stone cold. "You're being ungrateful," he said. "We've done everything for you." I took a step back, my heart pounding so hard I thought I might pass out. "You didn't even ask me," I said again. "You didn't even think I might care?" "Because you only care about yourself," Dad snapped. "Josh is the one with the future in music. You're just playing around." Something inside me shattered. I didn't see it coming. He moved fast. One second I was standing there, and the next, the side of my face exploded with heat. I stumbled back and hit the wall, stunned. I tasted blood. "You will not talk to us like that in this house," he growled. My mom didn't even flinch. She just sat there, arms crossed like I deserved it. Josh looked uncomfortable, but not enough to say anything. That was when I realized. I didn't just not matter to them. I never had. They only kept me around because it made them look like a normal family. But I was always the accessory, the brown-skinned daughter from my mom's second marriage, the one who didn't fit in their family photos, the one who didn't match. They loved Josh. He looked like them. Blonde, blue-eyed, golden boy. I was just an inconvenience. "Get out," my dad said finally. "Take a walk, clear your head. You need to grow up." "Where am I supposed to go?" I asked, stunned. "It's 7 p.m. I haven't even eaten dinner." "That's not my problem," he said. "You want to act like you're grown? Then figure it out." I waited for my mom to say something. Anything. She didn't. So I walked out. I didn't have a plan. I didn't even have my phone charger or a jacket. Just pure red-hot humiliation burning through my chest. I ended up sitting on the swings at the park 2 blocks away, tears running down my face. I must have stayed there for over an hour, watching the sky go dark, feeling like the world had folded in on itself. That's when I remembered someone. Mrs. Ralston, my old piano teacher from middle school. She had offered me private lessons once, completely free, when she saw me playing in the school talent show. I'd turned her down because my mom said it would be weird to accept charity. But I remembered her eyes. How proud she looked that day. How she called me a natural. I pulled out my phone and called her. I don't even remember what I said. Just something like, I know it's been a while, but they sold my piano, and I don't have anywhere to go. She didn't ask questions. She just said, come here. Right now. 10 minutes later, I was sitting on her couch, a blanket around my shoulders, a warm mug of tea in my hands. And I realized, for the first time in my life, that someone actually saw me. Not as Josh's sister, not as the mistake. Just me. And that was when I noticed a letter sitting on her coffee table. The return address said New York Conservatory of Music. My breath caught. I meant to call you about that, she said, following my gaze. It came to my address for some reason. She handed it to me. My name was printed neatly across the front. When I opened it, I almost dropped my tea. I had been accepted. Full scholarship. A program I didn't even remember applying to, because I had filled it out secretly 6 months ago, before giving up hope. My hands trembled as I held the letter. And then I saw the postmark date. It had been mailed out 5 months ago, and the address it had originally been sent to? My parents' house. They'd intercepted it. They knew. They knew I'd been accepted, and they never told me. They'd rather I never find out. Because if I left, Josh wouldn't have anyone to overshadow. That was the moment everything changed. And it's the moment I knew. I'm going to make them regret every second. I stared at the envelope like it might catch fire in my hands. The acceptance letter to the New York Conservatory of Music had been addressed to my house. It was postmarked 5 months ago. 5 months. And somehow it ended up here, at Mrs. Ralston's address. They knew. My parents knew. I sat frozen on her couch, the letter spread across my lap. My hands were shaking so hard I couldn't even hold the tea mug anymore. I don't understand, I finally whispered. How did it get here? Mrs. Ralston looked almost as confused as I was. I'm not sure, honey. Maybe it got forwarded, but your name was written so clearly. It should have gone to you. She paused, watching my face. Rena, do you think your parents might have seen it? That question knocked the air out of my lungs. I knew they had. My mom always checked the mail. Always. She had this weird obsession with tossing out junk before it even reached the kitchen table. She called it filtering. If she thought it wasn't important, she trashed it without a word. But this wasn't junk. This was my future. And she had thrown it away like a grocery store coupon. I felt heat rising in my chest, pure white rage replacing the shock. I wasn't just angry. I was betrayed. Again. Because this wasn't a mistake. This was intentional. They didn't want me to succeed. They didn't want me to leave. If I got into that school, it would prove what they'd denied my whole life. That I had real talent. That I could go places without their help. And maybe worst of all, it would mean Josh wasn't the only musical prodigy in the family. They couldn't stand that. They hid it, I said out loud. My voice cracked. They actually hid it from me. Mrs. Ralston's face hardened. That's abuse, Rena. I don't care what their reasoning was. You had a right to know. And then she did something I didn't expect. She pulled me into a hug. Not a polite, distant adult hug. A real one. Firm, warm. Protective. I'm so sorry, she whispered. You didn't deserve any of this. That did it. I broke. I sobbed in her arms for what felt like hours. I cried for the piano I lost. For the performances they never came to. For every time I tried so hard to be seen, only to be ignored. And most of all, I cried for the version of me that still believed they would love me. If only I were better. When I finally pulled away, my face felt raw, my body hollow. But somewhere underneath all that pain was something new. Determination. I'm going to reapply, I said. I don't care if it's late. I'll write them. Beg them. I'll send them a video. Something. Anything. Mrs. Ralston smiled. Then we'll make sure your submission is impossible to ignore. She meant it. That night, she cleared space in her guest room and helped me move in. She found a local piano I could practice on, an upright, older model donated to the community center. And every evening after school, she worked with me, helping me polish my technique and record a new audition video. Meanwhile, my phone buzzed nonstop. Missed calls, voicemails, texts, all from my mom. You need to come home. We're worried. Stop being immature. You're making this a bigger deal than it is. Josh feels terrible that you left. Apologize and we can move past this. Not once did she say sorry for selling my piano, or for slapping me, or for hiding my scholarship. Josh texted me once. Just once. Can we talk? I didn't respond. A week later, Mrs. Ralston and I finished editing the video. It was raw. Just me at the piano, playing one of my original compositions. Nothing flashy, no fancy production, just the truth. We sent it off, along with a letter explaining the situation. I didn't sugarcoat it. I told the school everything. How I'd never had formal lessons, how I taught myself, how my family never supported my music, how they hid the original acceptance letter. I hit send. And then I waited. The days dragged by. I barely slept, barely ate. Every time my phone buzzed, my stomach twisted. I couldn't focus in school. I skipped lunch to go practice. And then it came. An email from the admissions director. Rena, we are deeply moved by your story and impressed with your resilience. We'd love to offer you a deferred spot for the spring semester with the same full scholarship. If you're still interested, let's talk about next steps. I dropped my phone. Literally. It hit the kitchen floor and skidded under the table. I just stood there, staring into space, heart pounding like a war drum. I got in. Mrs. Ralston cried when I told her. Then she grabbed both my hands and said, "We celebrate tonight. And tomorrow, we prepare for your future." It was the happiest moment of my life, until I got home from school the next day and found Josh sitting on Mrs. Ralston's porch. He looked awful, sunken eyes, nervous energy radiating off him. "What are you doing here?" I asked, instantly on guard. "I didn't know where else to go," he said, standing. "They kicked me out." I blinked. "What?" "They found out I lied about my conservatory auditions. I didn't get in anywhere. I just didn't want to disappoint them. So I made stuff up. Mom and Dad lost it. Said I embarrassed the family, that I wasted everything they gave me." I stared at him, my mouth slightly open. "They kicked you out?" He nodded. "Told me I was a failure, that I'd never be like you. Me, the sister they ignored, the one they hit, the one they kicked out first." I didn't know what to say. Josh looked up at me, eyes glassy. "I'm sorry, Rena," he said. "I should have stood up for you. I was just so used to being the favorite. I didn't want to lose that. But I did. And now I don't have anyone." I crossed my arms. "You still have them. They just need you to beg hard enough." He shook his head. "They've moved on. Mom already posted on Facebook about choosing to focus on her daughter's success now." My jaw tightened. That's when it hit me. They'd replaced him. With me. When Josh showed up at Mrs. Ralston's porch with a duffel bag and a broken voice, I didn't know what to feel. Part of me wanted to slam the door in his face. Another part, the part I hated, still remembered all the nights I'd stood in the hallway, eavesdropping on his jam sessions, praying he'd one day ask to collaborate. The part that once looked up to him. He looked small now, deflated. The golden boy mask was gone. All that was left was a scared 18-year-old who'd finally been discarded by the same people who'd discarded me. "They kicked me out," he said again, like saying it out loud might make it less real. "Why would they do that?" I asked, arms folded tight. He rubbed his eyes. "Because I lied. I told them I got into the conservatory, but I didn't. I bombed the auditions. All of them. And I didn't want to face them. So I faked it." I just stared. I didn't know what shocked me more, the fact that he got caught or the fact that he'd admitted it. "They flipped out," he continued. "Said I'd embarrassed them. Said they wasted everything on me. Dad called me pathetic. Mom said maybe they backed the wrong kid." My heart sank, but not out of sympathy. They only turned on him when he failed? Not when he was cruel. Not when he laughed while they sold my piano. Not when he stood by as I was slapped and told to leave. Just when he failed. And now, they were painting me as the prodigy, the comeback kid. My mom had even posted this photo of my childhood piano. Not mine, the new one they bought to look supportive, with the caption, "Proud to see our daughter pursuing her dreams. Never too late to believe in your kids." I wanted to scream. "They replaced you with me," I said flatly. Josh flinched. "Yeah," he whispered. I noticed. Mrs. Ralston came out a minute later. Her expression was unreadable. "I heard," she said softly. "Josh, I won't put Rena in an uncomfortable position, but if she agrees, you can sleep in the guest room. Just for tonight." I didn't answer. I didn't need to. Josh slept on the couch. The next few days were tense. He tiptoed around me like I might snap at any second. I wasn't angry because he failed. I was angry because now that he knew what it felt like to be discarded, he thought that was enough. Like we were even. But we weren't. And things were only just beginning. A week later, something wild happened. I got a call from the director of the Regional Arts Foundation. Apparently, someone had submitted a video of me playing my original composition, The one I sent to the conservatory. They wanted me to perform live at their annual gala. A huge event. Local press. TV coverage. I thought it was a scam at first. Until they emailed me the official invite. With a sponsor, a stipend, and a note. Your story inspired us. We'd love to help amplify your voice. I said yes. Of course I said yes. Mrs. Ralston cried. Again. Josh looked like he wanted to, but didn't. I started rehearsing every day, polishing my piece until I could play it with my eyes closed. It was the same song I'd written the night I first got kicked out. Raw, emotional, angry. I wasn't going to change a thing. Then the email went out. They announced the performers list online. My name was right there. Rena Alden, original piano composition. And under it, a rising star with a story that will move you. 2 hours later, my phone blew up. Texts, calls, Facebook messages. Even people from school who never spoke to me before. And then, my mom. Why would you tell people we kicked you out? You've humiliated us. Rena, take that video down or we will. Take it down. I wasn't even the one who posted it. I ignored them. Josh didn't. He sat me down that night, hands clasped tight. They're freaking out, he said. Dad's talking about legal stuff. Mom's crying. They said if you don't fix this, they'll do something. I looked him dead in the eye. Did they care when they sold my piano? Josh looked away. Did they care when they hid my scholarship letter? Silence. I'm not lying, Josh, I said, voice low. I'm finally telling the truth. And the only reason they care is because now people are listening. That shut him up. The gala came faster than I expected. I walked onto the stage in a thrifted black dress, my palms sweating, heart trying to punch its way out of my chest. The room was packed. Local press, sponsors, even a few minor celebrities from the arts scene. I sat at the grand piano under a single spotlight, took a deep breath, and played. Every note told my story. The loneliness, the betrayal, the rage, the hope. I didn't need to say a word. It was all in the music. When I finished, the room exploded in applause. And then the host walked out and said, "That was Rena Alden, everyone. And her story of perseverance and overcoming family rejection has gone viral online. In fact, her audition video has now reached over 3 million views." I froze. 3 million. What? The host smiled. We have one more surprise for her tonight. The lights dimmed, and then a giant screen lit up behind me. It was playing my video. Not just the piano performance, but also the story submission I'd written. And under it, screenshots. One of my mom's Facebook comments. My dad's email calling me ungrateful. A message from Josh, months ago, mocking my chances. Someone had leaked everything. The crowd went silent. I couldn't move. I turned toward the host. Who submitted that? She looked at me, confused. Wasn't it your parents? Dead silence. I stood there, heart thudding in my ears, the spotlight suddenly too hot. It wasn't them. It wasn't me. Which meant I spun around and locked eyes with Josh, standing just off stage and smiling. The look on Josh's face when our family's dirty laundry lit up behind me was something I'll never forget. Smug, proud, a little unhinged. It took me a solid 10 seconds to register what had just happened. All those messages, the Facebook comment from Mom calling me dramatic, the email from Dad threatening to cut me off financially, the one where Josh said, "Nobody wants to hear your sob story." They were plastered on a 20-foot screen behind my head. And Josh had submitted them, not to support me, to expose me, to humiliate me. And somehow it worked, because instead of feeling empowered after my performance, I felt naked, small, like the spotlight was boiling me from the inside out. But the audience didn't gasp in horror like I expected. They didn't boo. They sat in stunned silence, absorbing every word, every screenshot. Then someone stood up and clapped. Then another. And then the whole room followed. Thunderous, echoing applause. They weren't clapping because I was perfect. They were clapping because I had survived. And somehow that made it worse for Josh. After the event, I slipped backstage and tried to avoid everyone. But of course, he found me. "You're welcome," he said, casually leaning against the doorway like he hadn't just detonated a bomb in the middle of my life. "You leaked our messages?" I said, my voice low and shaking. "Why? What kind of sick—" "I gave them what they wanted," he interrupted. "A story. You said it yourself. People only care when they listen. Well, now they're listening." I stared at him in disbelief. That wasn't your story to tell, I hissed. You humiliated our parents. You humiliated me. Josh shrugged. They humiliated themselves, Rena. I just gave it context. Before I could say another word, a stagehand rushed over to tell me a producer from a National Arts documentary series wanted to speak to me. I left Josh standing there with that twisted grin on his face. It wasn't over. I could feel it. He wasn't done, and neither was I. The days that followed were chaos. My inbox exploded with interview requests, small indie blogs, big podcasts, even a morning news show. Everyone wanted the girl who exposed her family through music. But what they didn't know, what no one knew, was that I wasn't the one who'd set this fire. Josh had, and he was using me to light the match. He started giving his own interviews. Small ones at first. Podcasts no one listened to. Then TikToks. Then YouTube. I'm Rena's brother. I saw what our parents did to her. I knew the world needed to hear it. At first, he framed himself as a witness, then a supporter, then the one who made it happen. She was too scared to speak out. I pushed her. I encouraged her to share. I made her believe in herself again. I watched in horror as the internet believed him. The worst part? I couldn't even prove he was lying, because the receipts were real. The words he leaked came straight from our parents' mouths. But his intentions, his motives, they were poison. He wasn't trying to help me. He was hijacking my pain for his own redemption arc. And it was working. Mom called me crying one night. Josh says he forgives us, that he wants to rebuild the family, that he understands we made mistakes, but we can move forward. My jaw clenched so hard I thought I might crack a tooth. Of course he forgave them. He needed to be the hero now. Dad emailed me a day later. Your brother's shown real maturity throughout this. Maybe you could learn from that. I slammed my laptop shut so hard I nearly broke the hinge. That was it. They were trying to spin my trauma into his comeback. And I wasn't letting that happen. I called Mrs. Ralston the next morning. Do you still have that Dropbox folder? I asked. The one with my practice videos? Of course, she said. Why? Because we're going to make a documentary. But my version. We spent the next week pulling everything together. Home videos, audio files, photos of my old piano, the letter from the conservatory, the original rejection, my first night at her place, sleeping on the couch. All of it. I narrated it myself. Calm, steady, honest. No fancy edits, no dramatic music, just the truth. We called it Silent Strings, the real story behind the viral performance. And when I posted it to YouTube, I made sure the title tag read, "This is not Josh's story." The views skyrocketed, and so did the comments. People noticed the difference, the manipulation, the way Josh had quietly rewritten the narrative to put himself at the center. They started pulling up his videos, comparing timestamps, quotes, contradictions. Reddit threads popped up dissecting everything. The brother is low-key a narcissist. He sold her out for clout. He's the real villain of the story. And then, someone leaked his audition tapes. All the ones he said he bombed, except he hadn't. He never even submitted them. The files were still in his Google Drive, untouched, unedited. He never applied. The whole story, the fall from grace, the shame spiral, the kicking out, was a lie. He hadn't been rejected. He'd faked the rejection. He knew the family spotlight was shifting, so he staged his own fall to ride the sympathy wave. He lied about being kicked out, lied about faking auditions, lied about trying to help me. He'd been controlling the narrative from the start, and I finally had proof. I remember sitting at Mrs. Ralston's kitchen table when the clip hit Twitter. It had been downloaded from one of Josh's private story archives, posted, deleted, and forgotten. But the internet never forgets. In it, he was laughing with a friend, saying, "Watch this. Rena thinks she's the main character now. Wait till I drop the final act." Final act? He hadn't even started the show, and I was done being his warm-up. The moment that leaked video hit the internet, everything changed. The clip, just 11 seconds long, showed Josh lounging in a hoodie, smirking into the camera while telling his friend, "Watch this. Rena thinks she's the main character now. Wait till I drop the final act." It was the smoking gun. The Reddit threads went nuclear. TikTok broke it down frame by frame. YouTubers made 10-minute breakdowns calling him the manipulative brother who built fame off his sister's pain. He tried to deny it, of course. Claimed it was taken out of context. Said it was a joke, a skit. But people weren't buying it anymore. He lost his sponsorships. His monetized channel got demonetized within 24 hours. People mass reported his videos for misinformation. Even his manager, the one who reached out after my viral performance, dropped him with a public statement. We were misled. This story belongs to Rena Alden. We apologize for amplifying a false narrative. I watched it all unfold from Mrs. Ralston's couch, the same one I slept on the night I was kicked out. Only this time I wasn't trembling with fear. I was sipping tea. Josh called me 6 times in one day, left voicemails I didn't even bother playing. Then came the final blow. A podcast I'd recorded weeks before finally aired. It wasn't flashy. Just me, sitting in a quiet room with a host who asked all the right questions. I told everything. Calmly, clearly. Not to drag anyone. Just to tell the truth. At the end, the host asked, "What would you say to your brother now?" I paused for a long time. Then I said, "I hope one day he understands the difference between attention and love. And I hope he learns that stepping on someone's story doesn't make you the hero. It just makes you cruel." That clip got millions of views. But it wasn't revenge. Not really. It was closure. And yet, even after all of it, the thing that hit the hardest came a week later. My mom showed up at Mrs. Ralston's doorstep. She looked older, smaller, like she hadn't slept in days. "I'm not here to beg," she said. "I'm here because I saw everything. I saw how wrong we were." She handed me something. A box. Inside was the last birthday card I ever made for her, when I was 9. I'd drawn a piano and written, "One day I'll play for you on a real stage." She was crying before I even opened my mouth. "I didn't deserve to be your mother," she said, "but I want to try to be someone better, even if you never call me that again." I didn't say anything. Not right away. I just closed the box. That night, I slept soundly for the first time in years. Josh, meanwhile, vanished from social media. Last I heard, he moved across the country and deleted all his platforms. No apology. No explanation. Just silence. Honestly, that was enough for me. Because in the end, he got what he feared most. No spotlight. No audience. No script to control. And I didn't just reclaim my story. I rewrote the ending. I used to think justice meant watching the people who hurt me suffer. But real justice is standing where they tried to bury you, and still rising anyway. Family doesn't always mean protection. And healing doesn't wait for an apology. If you've ever had someone hijack your voice, twist your truth, or try to rewrite your ending, drop a comment below and tell me what you would have done. And if you want more stories like this, don't forget to hit subscribe. The next one might be yours.